Hi, welcome to Co-Fed Families. I'm Randy Walters, and with us again is Dr. Rand Paul, who is a candidate for United States Senator in the November election, running against Jack Conway on the Democratic side. And there's been some talk, misleading statements made about Dr. Paul's view on the drug problem we have, and I want him to take just a brief time. We've got other things to do. Just a brief minute to tell you his position on this.
Well, as a physician and a father, I am very concerned about drug use and abuse. It's been going on a long time, too. I mean, Henry Caudill wrote about it in Night Comes to Cumberland's in 1961. And it's interesting, even back then, he was associating the lack of jobs, the dependency on welfare with drug use. Because I think if you get up early in the morning, you work hard, you're tending not to be sitting at home using drugs. So I think they're intertwined. I don't think there is an easy solution, but I am concerned about it. I think work and creating jobs out here is a good thing. Across the state is a good thing to try to keep people from using drugs. And I think also churches, families, mothers and fathers, families staying together. There are a lot of answers, but there's no one easy answer or magic bullet that's going to fix it. But I am concerned about it, and will do everything in my power to try to help with the problem.
All right. Now, let's move on to what is some of the pressing national issues that you're going to be faced with. And these are issues that I feel, and you do too, are going to affect our co-fed families. And that is the tremendous amount of debt and the tremendous amount of growth in government that we are experiencing right now.
Yeah. Well, it is, and I think we're facing a day of reckoning coming with it. We're up to about a $2 trillion annual deficit. And you'll say, well, that's not right. I heard in the newspaper it's only 1.5. You know what the difference is? We have 500 billion we don't count. It's off budget. But really the official budget's 1.5 trillion, but the real budget's 2 trillion because they borrow another 500 billion for things they just call off budget. So I mean, we have an enormous problem. The interest rate or the interest payment on the annual deficit, $400 billion. And that's at a low interest rate. Can you imagine what happens if, you remember 1979 when interest rates went to 17, 18%? If that happens again, interest will consume the whole budget. So we really have to begin to look at the budget. We have to have people who believe in new rules. I think you should balance the budget by law. It works in Frankfurt. It's not that they're necessarily better people in Frankfurt, but they have to balance the budget because the law says they do. We need that in Washington.
The effect on our families is coming back in the form of taxes. And anybody that thinks they're not going to go up is it's lost. And now they're saying that even the insurance provided you by an employer could fall as income and be taxed.
Yeah, some of the new plan, Nancy Pelosi's 2,500-page health care or the Obamacare plan, which of course they said, well, we haven't had time to read it, but you can read it after we pass it. But in part of that plan, they will be taxing some health insurance benefits. And you ask them which ones, and they say, well, some of the rules haven't been written yet. See, they really literally write the rules of the health care bill after it's passed. It's 2,500 pages, but the regulations that enforce the bill might be several thousand more pages. So it is really crazy, and it is going to increase taxes. And what I tell people is, Nancy Pelosi tells us it's going to cost $1.2 trillion, but it's not going to add anything to the deficit. I tell people, I haven't met anybody in Kentucky who believes that. I don't believe it. And they're usually wrong in their predictions because they usually say, well, it's going to cost $1.2 trillion, but then they make it free, and it costs $3 trillion because they can't figure out how many people are going to use something. When it's free, more people use it, and they use it more often.
Right. Now, the latest I've heard on the cap and trade proposal is that it is not dead yet. It is still out there hanging and ready for someone to pick up and start running it with it. And I'm sure the president will. But when the electric bills go up as they have, like in Kentucky, they just went up, 17%. And I know one business owner whose bill went from $2,600 a month to $4,000. Now, a lot of that was some extra usage, but still yet that's quite a jump. What is going to happen to the people who are of low or fixed income when these electric bills go up? Is that going to be vouchered to them by the government?
I don't think there is. And the other problem is that who gets hurt the worst is exactly what you said, the working class, those on fixed income. If you make $25,000 a year and your electric bill doubles, that really hurts you because your electric bill is a big thing you have to pay. Your rent, your electric bill are two big items in your family budget. And people are talking about electric bills doubling. The other thing they're not talking about is if they pass cap and trade, we have at least two big industries up near Henderson, Kentucky that are aluminum plants, and they use an enormous amount of electricity. If their electric bills go up or double, they'll be out of business tomorrow. They'll close down tomorrow. They cannot do it. And so people in other parts of the state say, oh, it might hurt some coal miners not to mine coal. It hurts all of us because we have a lot of industry in Kentucky that is dependent on cheap electricity.
I think most of the industry in this state is here. There was a time when our people used to leave and go to Detroit to get a job in the auto factories, and now we're the third largest car producer in the country.
Right.
So there had to be something there, and it's the coal that made the cheap electric rates
Absolutely.
possible for Toyota, Ford to come here.
Right. You're right.
And so we're going to tamper with that. We're going to mess it all up again.
Yep. You're right.
Let's talk about the border. I hear a lot of people talking about that. Where do you stand on Arizona's law?
I think Arizona has every right to pass a law because they're the ones paying the bills. Health care and education is largely funded by the states, and you just cannot have millions of people walking in across the border without having some rules. And I think the answer has to be securing the border first. We need to have rules, not only for economic reasons, but for national security reasons. I don't think you can protect your country from invaders and people who would be terrorists if we don't know who's coming across the border.
There's also the large influx of illegal drugs that come with the people coming across the border. My main interest in this argument, and I think a lot of people that are out there right now watching what is going on, is that what happened to states' rights?
Yeah.
What happened to the people have the right to decide how they want to be governed?
Right. And so you're right. I think that is a real question. We're going to have that, not only are we going to have that debate in immigration, but we're also having that debate in the health care plan. Because, Missouri voted the other day to say, how can the federal government tell us that we have to be forced to buy insurance? Where do they get the constitutional authority to do that? I thought that was left to the states and the people because it's not in the Constitution. 9th and 10th Amendment says if it's not enumerated, it's left to the states and people. But interestingly, Missouri voted on this 70-30 to overturn the mandate that says we have to buy insurance. And that's a key part of Obamacare. So I think you really are going to see more and more of this friction between states and the federal government and the idea of who has the rights, the states or the people or the federal government. You're seeing it, in the gun issue with the Firearms Freedom Act as well. Montana and a couple other states, I think Tennessee, are manufacturing guns completely within their state and saying, you know what, we didn't import anything. We're not trading across state lines. You don't have the right to regulate how we make this gun.
Right, no commerce clause here. All right. Listen, I want to thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
And discussing these issues with us and especially with our viewers here on Coal-Fed Families, and let you know that you're welcome back anytime that you've got a minute you can squeeze out of your schedule.
Good.
I know it's busy.
And if your viewers want to know more, randpaul2010.com, they can find more about it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.